guys, I'm Bettina. Welcome to what will be a three-part training on how to regain your core after having a baby from a yogic perspective. Now, I wanted to really start back to basics with this first video and looking at abdominal separation and what you can do if you've had some separation after having your baby or babies. So first things first, what is ab separation? It's basically these long muscles of our core, and as our belly grows, they separate apart. It's completely normal. It happens to most of us, to all of us, in order to allow for our belly to grow as it needs to. Now, for some of us, those muscles come back together as soon as we've had a baby. Others will have this gap down the middle, and what can happen is we have this bit of a pouch, or sometimes we refer to it as the mummy tummy, that no amount of crunches is ever going to fix, because yes, you can strengthen these muscles, but unless you actually draw them back together, they're not going to restore that tightness that you had pre-children. And sometimes working with crunches can actually make it worse, because what you're doing is increasing the separation rather than building those muscles and drawing them back together. First of all, how do we know if we've got abdominal separation? It's a really simple test you can do. Hopefully, during the early postnatal period, someone has checked it for you, maybe referred you on to a physiotherapist, but I know that doesn't always happen. So this is a little simple test you can do at home and see if you've got any separation before we start. So just lying down on your back, bring the feet up towards you at hip distance just so you can touch the heels, and you just place your fingers just above the belly button, and all you do is inhale, lift up, and you should be able to feel those two lines of muscles. So with mine, it's come back together fairly well, and I've just got a tiny little gap now. But for some people, they'll be able to actually, so mine fits like that, and I can feel muscles, but for others, they'll be able to go this way, turn their hand, and fit 2, 3, sometimes 4 fingers in between. It's not cause for panic, it can be repaired, but if you have any more than 2.5 fingers, I suggest you go see a physiotherapist before you do anything else. So no diagnosing yourself from that point. Really looking to get in some professional help who can work with you and see those muscles draw back together safely. Because if you work too hard too soon, the chances are you're going to injure yourself more than do any good for those core muscles. So if you do have some separation, but not enough to warrant a visit to a physio, but you want to start gently drawing those back, we'll go through a few quick exercises today that you can do to start drawing them in gently. So first of all, we really just want to generally focus on alignment. So that pelvic floor is also related. So this is why some of our separation occurs and some of the pain occurs, is because we've got these core muscles here releasing, as well as the weight of the baby pressing down on the pelvic floor, and those are weak as well. So I know you know how to do pelvic floor muscles, it's just getting to it. Try and set yourself up with a trigger, maybe brushing your teeth, maybe doing a yoga practice. I know for me, in Warriors, you've got to think about that pelvic floor and give yourself those few breaths to engage those muscles as you practice. Just generally, in your everyday life, you can start drawing these muscles back in. So I know I can relax and I get a fair belly. This isn't me pushing out. I could push out further if I wanted, but just drawing those core muscles in and focusing on, just throughout your day, whenever you lift your children or lift your baby, that you're pulling those muscles in. It just feels like a gentle contraction, drawing the muscles into the spine. Try and keep the tailbone drawn down, so we can sometimes tend to have a bit of a ski slope. Good posture draws that tailbone in, so the muscles of the legs contract and draw the core in. And of course, we all know about rolling our shoulders back and down. I'm sure our mums have told us that a number of times. So keeping that in mind, you can work with some gentle movements, push-ups against the wall. So just drawing in, and as you come towards the wall, you'll notice that you have to contract that core even more. So as you exhale, lower down, inhale, draw back up, exhale, lower down, inhale, draw back up. So that's gently starting to work those core muscles. You can do a few rounds of those. Another option is a wall sit, so just finding a wall. Again, keeping our awareness to that core and just sitting down, shoulders back against the wall. And you'll notice you have to pull the spine towards the wall and then pull the core in towards the spine to sit and hold. If you have an exercise ball, you could put that behind you and make it a little bit harder and roll up and down. You'll notice your legs start working as well, so it's a bit of a bonus. But just breathe, keeping that core drawn in. So you should be able to keep the core drawn in whilst you inhale. So ordinarily you might want to breathe in and expand that a lot, which can be good, but during your day and whilst you're doing strenuous activity or whilst you're lifting children, you want to keep that core drawn in. That's going to start bringing those muscles back together. So holding that for as long as you can and then slowly releasing up, keeping that core drawn in. Another option we can work with on our backs. So again, keeping the feet pulled in, hands on the belly, and just slowly letting one leg fall out to the side without letting this hip rock. And then inhale, draw it back up. And then the other side. So we're not crunching and it doesn't look like I'm doing much. But you'll notice, especially if you've had any separation, that keeping these hips steady and not letting them rock is quite challenging while letting one leg fall out to the side. So just exhale it down and inhale it back up. Exhale it down and inhale it back up. And of course, working with that for a few rounds and a few breaths again. Just a side note, when you're getting up, if you've got any ab separation, don't pull yourself up that way or rock up that way. It's best to pull to the side and use the arms, just like you did when you were pregnant probably, so that you're not doing any of that crunching action, because that's where the damage comes from. Another option, coming into tabletop. So taking the knees under the hips, hands under the shoulders. Now again, as I exhale and release, my belly will sag down. That's what 2 children will do. Perfectly normal. Some people will walk around all day with their abs not contracted, and that's where some of the problem is. We need to start drawing them in for good posture. So just from tabletop, an early exercise you can do is just drawing that core in, and this position makes it really obvious, because obviously if you don't, it will hang. So just drawing it in. Again, try not to have too much of a ski slope. Tuck the tailbone gently. Keep the back flat. Press into the floor, press into the knees, and draw that core in. So again, it doesn't look like much, but I can feel that core working. When you feel ready and you'd like to do a little bit more, I keep the knees on the ground, keep that core drawn in, and inhale one arm. And exhale it down. So you'll notice the rest of my body isn't moving. Inhale up, and exhale down. So the core is working strongly here, even though again these exercises don't look particularly intense. I promise you will feel them. And just working on getting that core nice and strong and repairing those muscles. And exhale back down. Again, repeating this a few times for a few breaths each time. So I hope if you work with those 4 movements, so the push-ups against the wall sits, lying on your back and letting the legs fall to either side. And then just gentle tabletop, drawing that core in, and then maybe the arms. If you wanted to increase it a little bit more, you could add a leg out, but I wouldn't be lifting the leg at this stage. That'll be for the next video. Remember, your body has gone through a huge transformation, no matter whether you had your baby 6 weeks ago or whether you had your baby 2 years ago. If you haven't taken the time to repair those muscles, the chances are you may have actually done a little bit more damage since having a baby than any good. So if you're someone who's struggling with getting that core back after having a baby, start back at the beginning. Go back, check those muscles, get everything working well first, and then once you've seen a physio, if you have any separation, and repaired that, then we can move on to video 2, where we start working with strengthening those core muscles, building core strength. I know for me, if I haven't done any yoga in a little while, my lower back starts to get quite sore. It's because my core is no longer strong. It is a work in progress. You do need to keep working at it. So hopefully that helps you today. Start working on rebuilding your core, and I'll see you in video 2, where we start working a little bit stronger. Namaste.